Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in the book of Genesis, chapter 39, verses 1 through 23. Now, Joseph is sold into slavery by his brothers, and the Ishmaelites take him down to Egypt, put him on the slave block, and he is bought by Potiphar. Potiphar is in the Egyptian government. He is the head of the secret service that protects Pharaoh, or basically probably also the secret police. He's a very powerful man. He's a very prosperous man. Now, when they looked at Joseph's hands, they would have seen that they're not rough. He's not accustomed to hard work. And so they put him in the household. And he starts off at the lowest slave. But he prospers. And why is it that he prospers? It's the advice that Paul gives to slaves in the New Testament. That though you are a slave, you are to work as though you're working for the Lord. Whatever our situation is, we're working for the Lord. Doesn't mean that the Bible endorses slavery. It's just that whatever our situation is, our ultimate allegiance is to God. And because Joseph follows the Lord and is obedient, everything he does prospers. And so Potiphar entrusts him with everything. And the more that Joseph is entrusted and leads the household, the more Potiphar's household is blessed, because as it says in verse 5, the Lord blessed everything because of Joseph. Well, Potiphar gives the entire household over to Joseph. The only thing he worries about is what's he going to eat for dinner. And the one thing that wasn't given to Joseph, obviously, was Potiphar's wife. But as we find out, Joseph was well built and he was handsome and he caught her eye. And we know, because the Bible describes what Joseph looks like, that this is going to become a part of the story. And sure enough, she's trying to entice him to bed. Come lie with me. She says these three words, but in verse 8, he responds with a small sermon. And he says, my master doesn't concern himself with anything. He's put me in charge of everything. And the only thing that I'm not, that he's withheld from me is you, of course, because you're his wife. And then he says this in verse 9, how then could I do such a wicked thing and sin not against Potiphar, but against God? This is not right, because breaking boundaries with others is about breaking boundaries with God. And so, but she's still determined, and day after day, she's trying to get him into bed, and finally she gets him alone and says, once again, come lie with me. He refuses. She grabs hold of his cloak, and he runs away stark naked, and she cries out, oh my gosh, look what he did to me. And she tells the servants, this Hebrew, this foreigner that my husband brought into this household, look what he tried to do to me. And she accuses him of attempted rape. But then she goes to her husband and she says, that Hebrew that you brought to us came to me and tried to make sport of me. And then as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak and he ran outside the house. Well, Potiphar hears his story of his wife, and he burned with anger. This is how, she says, this slave of yours, look how he treated me. And he burns with anger. But Potiphar must know that there's something off with this story, because he doesn't put this slave to death for trying to rape his wife. He puts him in jail. And even though Joseph's in jail, the Lord is still with him. I mean, it's about as low a situation you can get into, but the Lord is with him and showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. And so even in the lowest circumstances, God is still looking after Joseph. And how much is that true for us? Thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.